The NBA has always had big bucks rolling in, and the sums have only increased over the years. For example, this season, a deal to sell the Celtics for a record $6.1 billion became known. Sometimes you don't even have to be successful to be worth a lot. In 2010, Michael Jordan invested $300 million in Charlotte. The team looked terrible, but 13 years later, MD raised 10 times that amount. Not surprisingly, the league's men assess the players are making a lot of money. However, some of them have fallen in value a lot, some because of injuries and some of them have simply played poorly. So who are we talking about? I'll tell you in this video. Hi guys, my name is Zebra and this is Hook Talks channel. Please subscribe if you want to see more content. Let's go. The regular ambassador of the most declining assets column is Zion Williamson. The immense talent of the Pelicans big man is undeniable. However, as well as the fact that talent is not enough, you still need to be able to realize it, and that's something the 2019 draft's #1 overall pick has a big problem with. In nearly 6 seasons in the NBA, he's played in just over a couple hundred games, as insanely low number for someone who was recently hailed as a generational talent. The bright spot in the sad history of Williamson's medical records came last season. In that season, the forward played a record 70 games and New Orleans stayed in the top 6 almost all the way through the regular season, but fell into the play-in zone at the finish. The Pelicans had a decent battle with the Lakers. Zion made 40, but the injury ruined everything again. The most frustrating part is that Williamson's problems are affecting the fate of an entire franchise. Zion has again missed a wild amount of time due to health issues. But when he's still in the game, the results aren't much better. Without Zion, New Orleans lost 75% of their games, and with him, they lost 67% of their games. All in all, even with his good personal stats, which are certainly no worse than last year, the Pelicans are in deep shit. They've already traded Brandon Ingram, and something suggests that the same fate may await Williamson. Really, with that medical history and a solid contract, it's not going to be easy to do that. Anyway, I don't envy him. The open person I'm really jealous of is Bradley Beal. Dude doesn't work hard at all. He plays the way he wants to play in Phoenix, and he has a top 10 contract in the entire NBA. The funny thing is that the Suns are not going to get rid of him. The agreement includes a very rare right to veto trade by the player himself. It's clear that the guard isn't going anywhere. He's well fed here. He has good stats for a third star, averaging 70 points on 50% shooting and almost 40% from three-point range. But he's clearly not worth the money Phoenix has to pay him. Curiously, they'll give him even more next season, and he'll have a player option available for the 2026-27 season. Until then, the Suns are forced to learn some costly lessons from their own rash actions. Get their big trio together for a win in the here and now. All of this is amidst loud talk of Kevin Durant's near departure. KD is still among the top scorers in the NBA, but his time is almost up. He has one last chance left to chase his first and only title, not next to Steph Curry. Something tells me that when Durant gets in trouble, he just bails on another club. And getting back to Bill, there's exactly one fact that best illustrates his goofiness. Phoenix won 80% of their games when Durant and Booker played without Bradley Beal. Live with it. Another interesting specimen is Julius Randle. He's only spending his first season in Minnesota, which could very well be his last. So far, his play hasn't been impressive, and a trade with New York is in order. The conclusion is simple. Randle is gone, and the Knicks are better, while Timberwolves are down. The Wolves were one of the biggest sensations of last season, climbing into the top 3 of the West and making noise in the playoffs, dethroning then champion Denver with Nikola Jokic. Now the Timberwolves are but a played shadow of their former selves. The tactic with 3 changing towers, Towns, Reed, and Gobert, was getting results. Replacing key AT with Randle and DiVincenzo has yet to pay off. On one hand, Minnesota didn't want to overpay Towns, but Randle hasn't even become the team's second star, even though he was recruited for that role. His scoring output is down 5 points, even though he was an all-star a year ago. Next to Gobert, a throwing big man is especially important. That's a problem too. As Randle's 3-seamer is worse than average, he'll have a player option at season's end, and the Wolves may well not extend him. The situation with the other big guy from the Western Conference is no less clear. DeAndre Ayton started to be doubted back in Phoenix. Nevertheless, he was extended for some reason, and then it wasn't so easy for him to find a decent trade to another team. In the end, he ended up in rebuilding Portland and continued to stupidly pad his stat sheet. I even specifically checked over his entire NBA career. Ayton has averaged a double-double per game in all seasons. Does that reflect his real impact on the game? More likely no than yes. He was nowhere near being the first or second option on offense. On defense, he started yawing more often, even though he established himself as an elite defensive big man with the Suns. Teams evaluating Ayton weighed his potential against all of his inherent flaws. All of this directly affects his value. This season and next, he's a Trailblazers' highest paid player, and it's unlikely he'll get the same contract anywhere else. Most likely, Portland will just wait for his contract to expire while playing some of the younger players like Donovan Clingan. In the meantime, Ayton continues to fail to live up to his many advances. Remember, he went with the first pick in the 2018 draft above Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson, Trae Young, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. DeAndre thought came out with his own nickname, Domingue. In short, it's both funny and sad. However, the effect of garbage statistics does not apply to Ayton alone. Various players have been dealt this way at different times, and many clubs have fallen for it. For example, the Miami Heat in the case of Terry Rozier. Dude did well as a backup point guard for the Celtics, then was exiled to Charlotte. Exiled because the Hornets don't trade players, they punish them. There, with the lack of tournament motivation, he put up nice numbers and increased his personal value. Just look at how it works in practice. In his years in Charlotte, Terry has averaged nearly 20 points per game. Before that, in Boston, less than 10. Okay, there was a beginning of a career there and a much smaller role. They can be accepted. However, with the Heat, he first had 16 points and this season is much closer to the truth, 11 points of efficiency. It's odd that Miami's experienced executives fell for this at all. As a result, the Heat didn't get a dynamic sharpshooter capable of solving on his own, but a dude on a slump who is a prime candidate for an exit. This is especially evident with the departure of Jimmy Butler. The point guard has failed to take over some of Jimba's function, and that's largely why Miami dropped down in the standings and at one point produced a lose streak of 10 straight games. Terry will get $26 million next year. Not a lot, but a lot for a player of his profile, and on a team that's virtually starless. And of course, at the top of any such ranking of the NBA's cheapest players next to Zion have to be Philadelphia's two acrobat brothers. The 76ers wanted to make history, but ended up failing into it. Paul George was not unreasonably considered the most attractive item in the summer of season, and the Fields got him. A 4-year contract seemed questionable at first, but okay, the franchise needed to win here and now. No one could have predicted how things would turn out. Philadelphia flew past the play-in and the weak East, where it's possible to climb into the top 10 even with a wildly negative win-lose balance. It flew early with even more leadership problems. George played little and poorly, attacked not serious, gave no impact on defense, and ended the season early due to injuries. Things are bad for PG, both in terms of stats, play and impact on the team. In just a few months, he's gone from a potential saver of Embiid's 5th point to be a major disappointment of the season. The media is already reporting that the Peels will try to trade George. More criticism would have fallen on PG over the summer if it weren't for his teammate. Timothy doesn't leave anyone behind, so Embiid took a fair share of the criticism. Joel was back to treating more often than playing. However, while he used to shine in those rare intervals when he stayed healthy, that's gone now. The 2023 MVP's performance dropped by more than 10 points. He's only played 19 games, in which he hasn't been memorable either. That said, he's guaranteed one of the highest contracts in the league through the 2028-29 season. Compared to the problems of other NBA clubs, it's a big difference. or just a big S, and everyone in today's rankings is going to have to get out of it somehow. Well champ, that concludes our episode, and if this information was useful to you, please press like button and subscribe to our channel Hook Talks. That's all I have to say. That was Ibra on the mic, and I'll see you guys in the next video.